So we told you that Senator Graham was 71 years old. Well, he had actually just turned 71 2 days before he passed away. And today, one of his colleagues from the other side of the aisle, Senator Chris Coons from Delaware, reflected on their relationship. They were together in Ankara, Turkey, just last week.
Over dinner to celebrate his birthday in Ankara, we were talking about how unlikely it was that either of us would end up senators. His childhood was hard. He was orphaned at a young age, and he never imagined he'd be a United States senator.
Now, back in 2016, Lindsey Graham now famously said that if you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, then you've got a problem. Well, tonight we are hearing from former President Biden. He released a statement that reads, in part, Lindsey and I did agree on the profound importance of public service. Like me, he loved the Senate as an institution, even with all of its flaws and complexities. Well, let's talk about the Senate now, because obviously Lindsey Graham's passing creates a vacancy in Congress. So what happens next? Jessica Taylor is going to help us figure all of that out. Jessica is the Senate and Governor's editor over at the Cook Political Report. Jessica, thank you for coming on, joining us live today on a Sunday. Before we talk about what's next, what happens when a sitting U.S. senator dies? Can we just get into your thought bubble on everything we've seen so far today?
I mean, it's really stunning because Graham was such a lion of the Senate. He was just at the center of everything from judicial nominees to national security to defense issues. I mean, he was one of, as you said earlier, he was one of the most recognizable faces in the Senate. So, when I woke up this morning and heard the news, I think it's really stunning because he really was someone that, yes, he has become a Trump ally in recent years, but he could still, as you saw from the myriad of statements that were released today, he really was respected by his colleagues across the aisle. I think that, the Senate is less of a collegial body than it used to be, but I think he still reflected that collegiality and had the respect of his colleagues, no matter their political party. For
sure. I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and take us to the scene, kind of like where this all happened, because the FBI was spotted at Senator Graham's home on Capitol Hill today. I certainly am not a law enforcement expert, but I'm curious, and I'm sure others are, as to why the FBI may have been there. Is it just simply because, Jessica, this was a high-profile lawmaker who also traveled overseas quite a bit? What do you make of that?
I think that, there have been threats on his life, certainly. And, given that he was an outspoken supporter of Israel and supported the Iran war and was just in Ukraine, and he was one of the loudest voices supporting Ukraine and against Vladimir Putin, you have to, I think, do the due diligence and sort of answer these questions. But it looks like, per his office tonight, that this was an aortic dissection is the preliminary finding in the autopsy. And it's not, this was my first thought that it was something like this because his father died at the age of 69 from a heart attack. So a lot of these things sometimes are hereditary, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we still don't have any official word confirming what exactly it was. We're waiting on that. While we wait on that, we do now have a vacancy in the Senate. What happens next, Jessica?
So he was up for re-election this year, so there will not be a special election, but Henry McMaster, the Republican governor, will appoint a caretaker. Well, it could be a caretaker or it could be a person who will run for the term of the seat. We don't know that yet, but he will appoint a temporary replacement. Whether that person wins a term or runs, I said, we don't know yet. The field is still, it's very early on, as you said, but I don't expect that this will be vacant long. I expect something could come this week. I think that Graham was a man of the Senate. He wouldn't want Senate business to be held up. And remember, Mitch McConnell is also ailing. We just got a statement from his office that he is in a rehab facility now. And so that Republicans have only a 4-seat majority. This brings it down to 2 seats. And as you're trying to get business passed on the NDAA, on a host of other issues before they leave for the August recess and before the midterms become the major focus, there's a lot of Republican priorities that they want to get passed. So I wouldn't be surprised if the governor governor tries to fill this seat pretty quickly so that the business of the Senate is not held up. But then there will be a special primary election to replace him on the ballot. It looks like that will be held on August 11th. There are several lawmakers that could run, some candidates that had run and lost for governor. It looks like Congresswoman Nancy Mace is taking a look, possibly Congressman Ralph Norman, who also ran there. Nikki Haley, the former governor, has told Bloomberg that she is not interested. You could look at the Lieutenant Governor Pam Yvette, who also ran for governor, came second in that race.
It's hard, even when we talk about a tragedy, to not, to table the politics in this, because we are talking about a United States senator. So we're going to keep on following the story. Jessica Taylor over at the Cook Political Report. Thank you so much for joining us live. We appreciate it.
Thank you.